everyone, and welcome back to Between Realities. My name is Alyx VR. I am joined here by my co-host Skeeva. Skeeva, how the hell are you, sir?
Pretty good. I'm hanging in there, man. I've been excited all week for another awesome show.
We are super stoked to be here on episode 3 of our second season. Quick shout out to the chat. Aspen, Darkfire, and Alt VR have been here for a while since before the show started. So thank you guys for being here early. Limitless Gaming is here. Lucas is also in the chat, who, by the way, is our guest today. So we should probably not waste any time. Joining us right now from the future is Mr. Lucas Rizzotto.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. Dude, thank you so much for being here, man.
Dude, it's such a pleasure, especially in this kind of environment.
Yeah, you know, I mean, living in the future and being from the future, I'm sure you're used to things like this. It's probably not your first rodeo and something like this.
Yeah. And fly around between realities and get her done.
Absolutely.
Well, dude, seriously, like, beyond stoked to have you. I mean, I was legitimately a fan of yours before I saw your amazing YouTube video, which I'll go ahead and say is like literally up there with one of the best fucking YouTube videos I've ever seen in my life.
Agreed.
Like the production quality, like the humor, the subject matter, it's about VR, like everything about that video was like absolutely fucking amazing. So like, hat goes off to you if I was wearing it. Take your hat off, Skeeva. I'm just kidding. Like, thank you, man. Like you did, you made an amazing video.
Thanks. It was it was a labor of love. I didn't know if people were going to care about it. I just wanted to find out if I could make projects for YouTube that people cared about in a really, in a way that I wouldn't get compared to Michael Reeves, which is really hard because Michael Reeves is the fucking king of the space. And yeah, I just spent like 3 months of like, I'm just going to do the best video that I can. And if it doesn't work, it means that it's just not for me because I tried my best. But if it does work, then now I have to do something that's even better. And
yeah, that sucks. Well, I know I'll speak for everyone when I say that everyone's excited to see everything that you're going to be doing. Like, I mean, I'm just stoked that we got you on the show now. Like before you're like fucking blown up and like off like to the races and way too busy to do chats like this. So. You know, I've been wanting to have a chat like this since I saw you at OC6. You were on a panel at that like little art gallery in OC6, and people were talking about like relationships and intimacy on that panel. And you know, people are just kind of going around talking about like anecdotal experiences and things like that. And then it goes to Lucas, and he drops some fucking truth, like boom, like talking about like some real like. The definition of intimacy kind of thing. And I'm curious, since then, do you spend any time in social VR, and like have you had any experiences that like kind of speak to your perspective that you were sharing with us at OC6 that time?
I'm not the biggest fan of social VR, to be honest. I get bored in it very easily. And now that all social platforms have implemented bubbles in the way they've implemented them, where you can't even really high five with anyone and your bodies disappear, it's become like so sterile to the point that I don't get anything out of it anymore. However, it's as a teenager where like I hardly had any friends, social VR would have been like my holy grail, just because I would be able to go out into worlds and interact with people and make friends and spend my time with human beings with a body. So it definitely has its uses, and it's really and although I am still bullish on it, just because everyone's doing the same thing, Alt Space Rec Room, VR chats is the weird one, but it's essentially like different flavors of ice cream, but it's all ice cream. And I'm looking for experiences that really change the dynamic of social interaction, rather than just you get to interact with people like you do in the real world, except it's VR with crazy avatars. Like I want more. I want the rules of social interaction to be broken and rebuilt, and there's not a lot of that. There's almost nothing like that, actually. So that's what I'm looking for in social VR. But
do you think that because you're if you're unaware of this in the chat, Lucas is the developer of a VR, I don't want to say game, a VR experience called Where Thoughts Go. And do you think that Where Thoughts Go is kind of like one of like your initial stabs at doing that, at like that mixing it up and like doing something more profound?
Yeah, but at a really basic level, it's really like the only real example of basically a social network in VR that's entirely asynchronous. So the internet basically, there's two kinds of social internet. There's synchronous, which is what we're having now. We're talking live. Skype is asynchronous, is synchronous social software. Any sort of live stream thing, Google Hangout, Zoom, etc. They're all synchronous. And then you have the asynchronous internet, which is not bound by time, which means like emails and news feeds and Twitter and message boards. And the key difference between them is that synchronous, all the value exists in the present. So we have this interaction, and that's what social VR is right now. But that interaction only exists in the present, and then value just becomes like, it just disappears in the ether. But with asynchronous communication, because I create a post and then people can consume it at any time that they want, anywhere they want, value builds up over time. And this is actually my main problem with social VR, because everything is synchronous. It means that all the value that's being created like disappears for the most part, as far as social interactions is concerned. And I wanted to see what I could do with by building something that's asynchronous. And the cool thing about asynchronous is that you don't need a lot of people actually to have a social space that works. Because if you have 30 or 40, the next people can enjoy what these 30 or 40 have created.
So when you say value, how do you define value in this sense? Something that lasts longer is more valuable?
Honestly, I don't want to get too technical too fast.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Just don't, just stop me if I'm going too abstract. But it's really just content builds up over time. And I'm adding value as it's more abstract form. It's just content that people like to consume. And yeah, it's just weird to me because Zuckerberg, when they acquired Oculus, I remember him talking on an interview about the importance of asynchronous communication in VR, but Facebook has done nothing. Nothing. It's I just don't understand.
Weird, right? From the social company. I mean, they had an app that came out when the Oculus Rift first came out, and it was garbage. It was one of the worst social experiences I've ever had. And then it's like, well, what are these guys going to do with this Horizon platform? Fingers crossed that they're actually able to kind of pull it off. But what I did want to say about where thoughts go is this game or experience actually made me feel like this was a very intimate thing.
That too.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all. I mean, I was really kind of blown away listening to all these people talk about these very intimate experiences in their life, and then it came time where I couldn't really move on in the game until I shared mine. So it brought this whole new thing into it, and I really enjoyed it.
I was just about to ask you if you felt that way, because it almost seems like by creating a space where that's safe, it almost is just inspiring, and it's people are like you said, compelled to get some of those things off of their chest and do some of that work that they would otherwise maybe have too much fear or something like that to do.
Steve Knows is in the chat. What's up there, brother?
Yeah, dude, we got a bunch of sweet people in the chat right now. Steve Knows, Ted Brady showed up, Tom Clancy, thanks for joining us, man.
Hussein X.
Yep, get to the choppa. Dude, we got the squad up here. So thank you guys.
Let me tell you, Lucas, why I'm really excited about this episode is because I finally got to re-break out my power glove. Yeah, buddy. I was gonna get
oh God. Fuck. Okay. No, let's fuck. Let's keep it going.
Did you lose it?
No, it's just the cable. It's just everywhere. But just on the topic of intimacy, because I was talking about where thoughts go, just what attracted to me at a systematic level, but there's also just the intimacy component of it. As I'm a deep introvert. I know it doesn't look like it on the video, but I am. There's a reason why I almost never talk to the camera in the video. It's just because I feel terribly uncomfortable on camera for the most part. And I wanted to find out how far you could push intimate interactions, but also how can you make people the best versions of themselves they can be in an online environment, especially because people have this assumption that people are always horrible online, but it's really a matter of how you design those systems that we talked about to get people to be their better selves. And you see that a lot in the kinds of societies that we built in the past, some that make people do worse things and some that make people a little bit better. So it was also that exploration of intimacy. And I realized that like audio it's a very, very, very important component of it, especially when you remove like visuals, because then you're not going to be, judging people. Number one, you don't judge people on their looks. And number two, voice preserves emotional context in a way that, text does not. And that's why people tend to be meaner in comment sections, is because people are less humanized via text than they are via voice. And by getting people's voices and applying this deeply intimate context that is where thoughts go, which is an experience that asks you lots of very personal questions, you're getting really high density emotional voice content. And that makes, that brings a level of seriousness and intimacy and emotional, and emotional interaction that you don't see a lot of it. And finally, you have that give and take component. You go into these worlds of where thoughts go, and you listen to these very intimate stories left by other users. You're taking from people, taking those experiences from people, but to progress, you need to give back as well, which is also a key component to any healthy relationship. You can't just take and go away, but that's what most social networks work like that. You don't have to give back. You just take. But in where thoughts go, you can take, but then you have to give at some point. And I think all of those things combined created honestly, one of the healthiest, least troll friendly environments I've ever seen. I built Where Thoughts Go thinking there were going to be a bunch of trolls, but I can count with one hand the number of bad interactions.
Wow.
Kind of crazy.
That's amazing. That speaks to this community, dude. VR community is so awesome. And I think one of the important distinctions that currently exist in something like Where Thoughts Go, that which is not asynchronous, where a lot of other social VR is that in most social VR asynchronistic experiences, there's also a avatar that represents the physical body.
Yeah.
Whereas in Where Thoughts Go, that doesn't exist. So it's interesting because you can still get like a deep level of emotional context and emotional content even from just the audio, and I'm wondering like how, what kind of wiggle room exists between all of this stuff. I recently went to the Failed to Render comedy show in Altspace, which has professional comedians in Altspace in like a set that they built that looks just like a comedy club, and people get up there and they like do their thing, like they deliver legitimate stand-up comedy routines. And when you're in VR, there's not a whole lot that's lost even in this current iteration of social VR, other than like facial expressions and stuff. But to your point, like the audio does such a good job of conveying the emotion and everything that like they can kill in VR on stage. And here's a little bit of secret of mine. I've actually kind of always wanted to put together a stand-up routine. I've always thought that would be so fun to do.
Right.
And going into VR and watching them do it in there, I was like, oh, like this could be it was so inspiring. I was like, I could do this, and like, I think that VR, when it's used to provoke this kind of stuff, really does create this like sense of this like safe environment to explore yourself and to maybe be more extroverted or to open up to new people or new ideas or experiences.
Yeah, this is what I probably think the biggest benefit of social VR is for like kids and teenagers to basically practice, try out many sorts of different social interactions, like going on stage at a comedy club, as an 11-year-old and seeing how you feel. And it lowers the stakes, and it makes it easy for anybody to have an experience like that. And it's just a great training ground to practicing all kinds of social interactions before you go heavy into the real world, which is a great experimentation stage. So yeah, I really want to make it clear that I'm a little bullish on social VR, but there's definitely value in it. I just wish people did things more differently. And I think the example that you said about the avatars that we use to represent people, they are usually just like, human-sized. VR chat's the only one that's a little bit different, but it's all, people, and it's like, okay. But in Where Thoughts Go, at least I made people small, little, cute creatures with big eyes, which have the proportions of babies, which evolutionarily trick you to be nice to them. And you're always the biggest thing in the room, and everyone is small, which again, you better be. You're the biggest thing in the room. There's nothing to fear, and these all of these other players are kind of like smaller and fragile, and should be treated as such. So there's so much innovation that you can do in the field of social interaction just by how you choose to represent people, that I've just been, it's just a little saddening that all social VR is kind of like the same.
Right. And while I feel that, I can't help but wonder, like, if the stand-up show in like something like this, like I think it comes down to what your intention is, right? Like, what kind of expression are you looking for? Because I don't know that, like, like Megatron delivering the jokes up on the stage would really enhance the experience that much. Like, it might be kind of good for
Depends
a laugh.
on the joke.
At the end of the day, like at the end of the day, I felt like I was in a comedy show when I was in Outspace. Like, and they could have been weird, and we could have like really gone weird with that. But for all intents and purposes, I feel like it delivered on the experience that I was supposed to have.
Altspace is great for that stuff, man. It's really good, especially now that they changed those god awful avatars.
Oh my god, it looks so much better. It's actually annoying how good it looks, because I tried to make I was in Altspace yesterday and I was trying to make a very ugly looking avatar and I could not. I tried my best. Not even a monobrow.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So hopefully Facebook steps up, does something, right? Like they bought VR basically.
Fingers crossed.
So like there's got to be a reason. Like, so like, what do you think, man? Like, Lucas, are you giving Facebook the benefit of the doubt? Like, do you think this is like IOI? Like, how do you feel about Facebook and their current position in VR?
I think. Okay, that's a big question.
No pressure.
Is it VR in general, or are we talking about social VR still?
Oculus specifically.
Yeah, however you want to
Facebook,
answer it. However you want to answer it. Yeah.
I mean, Oculus, I have faith in them in basically, at a hardware level and, handling the software ecosystem. I have really no faith in them making anything that's like actually creative, but I have faith in them building the technologies that will allow this to go to mainstream. And they are pouring tons of money. The VR industry would not be what it is without Oculus. It just wouldn't be. We just wouldn't have the amount. We wouldn't have the Quest. Not at this point, and not with this level of quality of content. So they definitely have a role to play. But I look at them more as like just an institution. They're gonna build the technology. They're gonna make headsets. They're gonna make augmented reality glasses, and then hopefully other more creative companies sell more than they do at some point, because Facebook's a company that runs on data harvesting. That's the core of their business model. And I guess VR could change that a little bit, which is nice. But, I'd rather own a VR AR device that Microsoft or Apple makes, because data gathering is just like a little side business to them, than Google or Facebook, which is like, you can keep saying that it's private and that you respect privacy, but
Do you though?
Do you though? I don't buy it.
I will say this. Oculus Connect was like the highlight of like my year that year. Like I had really so much fun at Oculus Connect, and it was like a catered, like fancy party, dude. Like there was snacks and drinks everywhere. Like, I'd never been to anything like that. Like that blew my mind. And it's just like kind of sad right now, the current state of the conferences, and like the fact that we're not able to get together and meet up at things like Oculus Connect, because I got to see you there, and that's what I got when I got introduced to Lucas and realized that one day I'm going to have a podcast and he's going to be on it, and like, conferences like that are the places where we can establish relationships like this and like help drive the engagement, help us have great guests on our show like this regularly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
I do.
It's just kind
Seriously?
Dude. That you were going to have amazing guests this season. Your last guest was named after a terrible line in a terrible movie from a terrible actor.
What?
Hey,
come on, Get to the Chop of VR is a really good guy.
And we're trying really hard to make this a good show, bro.
Yeah.
Your upgraded chip looks even worse than the upgraded Oculus Quest.
The Oculus Quest looks pretty good. The new one, the white one. It's all white and smooth and nice.
Yeah, your target demographic is soccer moms. It only makes sense that you'd end up with a cheap white vibrator on your face.
Hey, bro, this is a family show. Come on, man.
Now we know what they meant by Jedi controllers. And fuck
man.
You, dickhead. Get out of here.
Who built you anyway? HTC?
Oh! Out of here.
Screw this
That
guy,
fucking
man.
guy, dude.
Oh, well, thanks for coming back there, Lucas. Sorry, we had an incident where we got kind of taken over by this dickhead robot.
Dude,
I don't know how else to explain him. He's such a dick. Oh, you're on mute there, buddy, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he fucked everything up, man. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that, homie.
No, it's fine.
I don't know. Yeah, well, we'll work on this. Guys, I promise we're going to work on this. These takeovers have to stop. You know, this, especially, you know, we can't come on and say anything nice, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, anyway.
Whatever, dude.
Oh, well.
So, where are we at? What were we talking about? We were talking about Oculus Connect and conferences and stuff.
Yeah.
What was the last conference?
Yeah.
Was that the last conference you went to, or have you been to one since then?
I've certainly been to one. I just don't remember what was the last one.
Yeah, CES was our last one.
Yeah, did you go to CES? Did you get to go to CES?
I never went to
2020?
CES. Ever. Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
fun.
We're so, dude, I feel like we're so lucky that we got to go to the last mega expo.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
For real.
yeah.
The last. There'll never be one again.
Well, you know, it'll be a little while, and it's going to be weird when it starts up again. You know, everyone trying to social distance, and I don't know, how do you go, and for us, how do you go to another expo and put shit on your face? You know what I mean? We're not there like, oh, we'll just nux, right? No, dude, we're putting that shit on our face that 800,000 other people also put on their face. So it's kind of a sketchy thing, you know, but at the same time, I'm really, really looking forward to getting back to some expos, man. I really am.
I mean, I definitely think Facebook's going to do something about this, or, you know, build something for the Quest too, that allows for, I don't know, you basically optimize for that kind of just switching and like just hygiene between multiple users and stuff like that. So that's definitely something Facebook can help with. And, you know, especially if OC8 is, hopefully it is
Right.
public, and they actually have a solution that not only for their own conference, but that people can use in others, because they need, a big part of VR is just sharing your headset with people. And
what was like your first VR experience? Like, what was like the first one that like tipped the scale and you were like, oh shit, okay, now VR.
It was my first one.
It was?
Yeah. I tried just very early. It was a prototype HTC Vive. I have no idea how I got in that room with one. I just got lucky. And I just tried the very early Portal demo in which, you know, repair a robot. And I was just smiling all the way through, man. And I
remember that.
Yeah.
We shouldn't bring up robots, though, in the show.
Let's not.
But
It's a sensitive subject.
Yeah.
But at the end, like, I was so excited that I was like crying a little bit. And it was just like, wow, like, I have to rethink how I think about the entire world now, now that this is a thing. And back then I didn't know, you know, I wasn't technical at all. I didn't know how to code or do any of this stuff. So I just thought it was, you know, oh, this is something cool I'm going to watch from a distance. But throughout the next months, I started to like, what if it's not as hard as it looks? It turns out it's not. It's not easy, but it's not nearly.
It looks hard.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not nearly as hard as it looks. Programmers thrive on the fact that their work seems so complicated, and that they have all these words that make it seem like, you know, crazy complex. But it's really just, it's just a tool. But they always thrive on this obfuscation. It's fancy.
It's like learning a language. Really, you know, especially if you're programming in something like C# or whatever, that is legitimately like learning another language. So, I mean, maybe not Unity wise, because that has more of a GUI, but like, it's, I think it's complicated. You have to learn how things interact with each other. It's just it's tough. I think maybe you should give yourself a little more credit.
Yeah, it's not easy. It does require effort and a lot of trial and error, and you do need to be committed to learn it. But it's. I just want to make it clear that sure, it's tough, but it's not nearly as hard as people think it is, and myself included, because I just assumed that coding is something that literally only like teenagers who dream in their sleep could do. And I started to learn coding in my early 20s. I mean, I'm still young, but. You know, I was like, oh, I'm 22. I could never learn this. You know, my time's gone. You need to learn how to code when you're 14, or that's it. And that's not the case at all. So
you know, I thought I was going to, actually. When I first started this whole journey, when I like realized that I need to be a part of like the gaming world and the gaming community, it was actually before I had my experience with VR. And I was like, I'm gonna make games. I'm gonna learn how to code. I'm gonna like do this. And I just like started to like teach myself, you know, with tools that I could find online and stuff like that. And once I like got into like the meat and potatoes of it, I was like, holy shit, you know, like this is intense. And then VR happened. I had my mind blown by it, and I was thinking to myself, actually, I was thinking to myself that everyone would have the exact same experience that I did, like, or the same perspective that I did. Like when I first tried, I was like, try this, try this, try this. I was like giving everyone a headset,
Holy crap.
and they take it off, and they're like, that's cool. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean that's cool? Like,
And
that's the coolest thing ever.
And that's when you reevaluate your friends.
Yeah, right. Well, that's when I reevaluated like my enthusiasm. I was like, hold on a second. I think this is I like this more than most people, and I'm really passionate about this. So
Life-changing.
maybe like the people who are making this stuff need me. You know, like maybe I can use the skills I already have to help push the medium forward and help be a part of that community. But now I'm like starting to think like, shit, should I have like not given up? Like, should I keep coding? You know, like, is this something that I can do in my free time and, you know, get there?
Yeah. Yeah, people don't care about technology on its own. You need to make it personable to them. You need to be like, you need to hold like a little carrot, which is something they've always wanted to do, and then be like, now you can. Because that's I think how people are going to care about this in the long run. It's not just, you know, the idea that you can control people's senses and go to all these things, all these places. It's really showing them, you know, the very human things that they care about and how VR and AR enables those things. And there's not a lot of good examples, which is why VR has been very gaming centric so far. But I think, you know, as the years go by and you know, VR starts to merge with AR and all this stuff starts to get really crazy, then will be, you know, it will just be like this huge platform of you being able to do things you've always dreamed of, and that's when people are gonna like really start gravitating to it. But it's really important to try to create bridges that make the average person care, and the average person does not care about the tech; they care about what it lets you do.
Right. So, do you think that the staleness of the experiences is like a primary determining factor of the lack of adoption, or do you think there's other factors that are really preventing that from happening?
I don't think all the experiences are stale per se. There's lots of really cool stuff, but it's all of it. It's still catering to, you know, like the same demographic, especially because most of VR right now is gaming. So, you know, you're getting more and more arguments to try to recruit more and more gamers, but there's not a lot of that comes out of that right now. There's some productivity stuff that's cool, but it's still, you know, it's very centered on one demographic, and it makes sense, like strategically, to go after gamers first. But I think you need to go beyond that to really, you know, capture the imagination of the average person. And that's what I'm hoping to do a little bit. I hope to very rarely build games unless it's a really, really unique one for some reason. And yeah, try to focus on those gaps of VR and AR and try to communicate those things to the public, because those are things that I think are not being really well communicated.
Right. I mean, I imagine, you know, like it took you 3 months to make a video. We make videos. We know how hard they are to make, and then we watch yours, and it's like, oh wow, like that's definitely a 3-month video. You know, like that is a 3-month video for sure. So, you know, you stay busy, and you know, I know you were, you know, doing like an interview or something before you joined us on our show, and so your time is, I'm sure, getting more and more limited. And again, thank you for yours. We have no idea how awesome this is to have you with us today. So, how much time do you have to enjoy virtual reality? Like, do you put the headset on every day or every week or what?
Like, I tend to use it like once a week actually now, for stuff that's not me, you know, this stuff that's not developing. And every now and then there's going to be like a breakthrough title or something I'll get addicted to very briefly, and I'll play that intensely for like a couple weeks, but then I'll get bored again and I'll just go back to making stuff. I think most of my excitement in VR comes from honestly the things that I'm making that I'm like, this is cool. And
as it should.
although it should, I'm really like, I really love going to virtual reality film festivals and stuff like that, where you get to experience some really weird stuff. That's, you know, the whole VR experience space, that it's called the VR experience because we don't know what else to call them, has lots of really cool weird stuff that changes my perspective, and it's really fun, although there's not a lot of those this year. So actually, yeah, I spend most of my time in VR making stuff. Every now and then I'll get addicted to a game and I'll play it. And most of what I gain personally is really from going to like events and festivals where I get to see lots of weird stuff. A lot of it that never gets released to the public because it's stuck in the art world, so it's being exhibited in a museum somewhere in Amsterdam, and the average person doesn't get to see it, which sucks.
So I got to know, did you, is one of these things that you got addicted to, was Half-Life one of them? Sorry, I'm a huge Half-Life fan.
Alyx?
Yeah.
Not really, man. I enjoyed Alyx, but I was kind of like, this feels like a game that was designed in 2016, and that's because it was.
Oh, I feel that though.
It's not bad, but it's like, you know, gameplay wise, it doesn't. Grab mechanics cool, but it doesn't really do anything. There's no melee, which got, you know,
the lack of melee does suck.
That does.
It would be so good to be able to hit stuff.
What about the design? You know, there was a great podcast with Andrea and Kent Bai and another guy, and they talked about the architecture and the way the levels were designed and the thought processes behind, you know, how everything kind of had to be built. I thought it was super fascinating how they designed the city and all the things that they thought of when kind of bringing City 17 to life. But you know, I guess to your point, it doesn't do a lot that other games don't do, as far as it's a game where you run around and you shoot stuff, right? But man, did they do that really well.
Yeah, it's a game where you grab stuff and sometimes you shoot.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
But grabbing is fun, but that's also why the whole Jeff level, and no spoilers, but is it Jeff?
Yeah, that's the name.
Yes. Yeah. That was cool because it recontextualized the main actual gameplay, which is grabbing stuff, and it made it like a terrible suspenseful act, which is really smart.
Yeah.
So it had like Half-Life Alyx to me was its best when it was a horror game, but to me, like, the lack of melee, the fact that you know, like a head crab can't jump towards me and I can grab it by its leg and just hit a zombie with it. To me, that's what I hoped the combat would be, because I was like, oh, they're gonna get Boneworks, which is a very cool game, but it also feels super awkward, and they're gonna make it not awkward. That's what I was hoping they were gonna do. But they were they played it safe. They definitely tried to do melee, and Valve, you know, is very much into not even getting even remotely close to the idea of discomfort, so that's probably why they cut melee, and that's why also ladders are just the awkward instant.
Yeah, but you can go and grab the ladders and pull yourself up, but as soon as you make that motion, it slings you up to the top. So yeah, they did a few things. They're very I think their downfall is definitely how much they cater to people that to noobs, you know what I mean? And that's good, because there's got to be a lot of noobs that come in, right? I mean, this technology isn't very you know, it's not adapted by millions and millions of people yet.
Yeah, and Boneworks was like, oh, we know this is terribly uncomfortable, but it's fun, so screw it. And they went for fun over comfort, which is you know, there's trade-offs, but that's why I ended up
So, Lucas, do you typically onboard new VR users with your own stuff?
No, actually. And just to comment on what Aspen said, yeah, there's a lot of fire in Alyx with the modding community. People are going to do lots of cool stuff with it. I'm really excited about that.
I can't believe we didn't mention that. That is actually really important.
Yeah. So that'll be cool. And it's also the best looking game in VR. Just is.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
No, actually, I onboard people with, you know, like, actually, usually when I onboard a stranger, I do first, like the Oculus, the robot demo, the one that that they start you with.
Contact.
First contact. Yeah.
First contact. I think it's brilliant. I think it teaches you like all the basics. And if I show first contact to people, I can get them to play anything after because they're already comfortable with grabbing and pressing buttons and everything. So I always do first contact because it's just brilliantly designed and it's charming and it gets people, with the right mindset. And from there, I can go anywhere. Yeah, they can play any game pretty much flawlessly from there, unless it's a complicated RPG. But yeah, I always start with that. Then go into Beat Saber because I know they're gonna like it,
Dude,
and then I start to go into the weirder stuff, mine included.
Do you play Beat Saber?
Not really. I'm not into I played it when it launched and I had some fun, but I'm not really. I don't get addicted into things easily. So it's I was I played for a little bit but not tons of replay. And yeah, I think The Walking Dead also did a great job with melee. It felt super great. It's actually my favorite combat.
Drop my water. Sorry.
Yeah, I prefer Walking Dead to Boneworks in terms of interactive combat.
Walking Dead is awesome. Very in the melee, absolutely phenomenal.
So Ben Lang on Twitter recently started a thread that he hijacked from someone else and made it about VR. And he asked the community a question, and the question was, what if people knew could get your VR card revoked? And I had a couple different thoughts as to what my response to that would be. And my initial thought that I didn't think I was going to reveal that I now will was that I have very, very limited experiences with Saints and Sinners. I have not played Boneworks. I have not played Asgard's Wrath, which are three of the primary VR games. And it's insane. I thought I was going to post that, but I actually ended up posting if a game doesn't have if a VR game doesn't have multiplayer, I'm barely giving it the time of day. Because there's so many single player experiences, but if it's not multiplayer, literally I'm barely interested, if I'm being honest. And I feel that could get my VR card revoked. So I want to ask you guys, maybe we'll start with Skeeva. What could get your VR card revoked?
Man, I don't know. I think probably the way I react to horror VR games, so there's been plenty of times playing Rush of Blood or the Brookhaven Experiment or just, some of those really creepy games where I will audibly yell. It'll be 2 a.m. or 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, ah, oh my God, this, and I'm a pretty big dude. I'm 6'7", 300 pounds,
However, I wouldn't say that's atypical. I would say most people in VR in horror have reactions similar.
Yeah.
And that to me is not worth me taking your VR card.
Huh.
So is there anything, or are you just the perfect VR guy?
What would be taking my VR card worthy then? I don't know. I mean, I think really just my reaction to horror. I'm just a baby, really, because I bought, for example, I bought Paranormal Activity, and I just haven't been able to play more than 15 minutes of it. I'll only play it if someone else is over and I'm playing it with them, and then most of the time I'm like, no, you wear the headset. I don't want to do it, and I'll sit back on the couch like a baby.
I will accept your answer, but I don't love it. Lucas, what is there anything that you're willing to confess that might get your VR card taken from you?
Honestly, I don't think so. That's I haven't thought about it much. I'm sorry. I don't think I have any immediate answers of things that I do or haven't done that are completely unacceptable. I just try to, I do my best to try the highest variety of things that I can, and I think I've done a good job. But I have to think about this a little bit more. We can come back to this.
Yeah, sure. Eric for President said that he uses his T-shirt to wipe off his lenses, and I was like,
oh yeah,
I mean, I do that.
Okay, well, there you go. There's your answer.
If Eric ever goes to sell one of his headsets, don't buy it.
Right. Oh, but Lucas, that shirt. I mean, that shirt is a little different than like what I'm wearing.
Yeah, I try to wear clothes that are actually that are good. The material is actually good for wiping lenses.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this might be one of the questions that you have to answer now that you're getting interviewed all the time. But I don't know, certainly this video has changed your life, right? Like this has like the attention that you've gotten. Like I watched your channel go from like
the time machine video.
Yeah, the time machine video. I watched your channel go from like a couple thousand subs to way more thousand subs than that overnight. You know, and like I said, I've been a fan. I've been waiting for everyone to catch up, and now it seems like people are starting to, and I think only will as you continue to make content. So
Can
like,
we build
what's been the
a
biggest
real-life
difference
time
so
machine?
far? You know, like how has this affected your life on a day-to-day basis?
So with Where Thoughts Go, I got the experience of what it's like to spend 2 years on a project. You know, working it, getting to festivals, releasing it on Oculus and Steam, then releasing it on Quest. And it was a very valuable experience. But at the end of it, I was like, I never want to do this again, just because releasing something is so hard. And 90% of the time that you spend working on a project like that, it's not on the creative stuff. It's just on the grind. And, you know, fixing things and testing it with people and realizing that what you thought was intuitive is actually trash, and you have to rebuild things and rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding. So I was like, what if instead of, you know, making one project every year and a half, 2 years, I made 20 projects every 2 years. And that's really, it's like when creative people have all these ideas and they have to pick one to work on. I'm like, what if I don't? What if I just do all of them? But then you need to create a new format for making and distributing your projects. And there's a big difference between making a project for showing a video and making a project for public release. And that difference is about a year of effort. So it's, with the time machine, I was like, you know, let me see if I can make something that's fun and interesting and also, you know, educational, and it shows a side of this technology that hopefully you look at these technologies differently by the end of it. But also it's like, I was basically testing this as a creative outlet of like, can I do things that are interesting, but also distinct enough, things that are funny, but also, you know, give you something? Because sure, like I could build funny things that are just funny, but are kind of useless. But I wanted to mix that with depth. And the reception of the video really confirmed to me that this is a viable career path. Mm-hmm. And now I pretty much advocated to spending the rest of the year doing stuff like this. So
amazing.
But yeah, I can't do a video every 3 months anymore. It has to be once a month. It just
once a month.
Yeah.
So are your next videos gonna maybe be not quite as large of a scale, because this is like, you know, obviously you can't do that.
It's too long.
Yeah, like, so I mean, you're probably not. I don't want to ask you what you're working on, because I just want to see it when it comes out. But so it looks like the YouTube channel is going to be a nice strong push from Lucas. Then we're going to see some more.
Well, you know what I do want to ask you about this specific project is,
yes.
do you plan now? I know I've seen some other interviews that you've done, and you've said that there was about 7 terabytes of data,
yes.
video. So that probably answers my question right there, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you have any intention on someday maybe releasing your code for this, or releasing the game and letting people put in their own videos and kind of building their own time machine off of the foundation that you've built?
Not really, just because it's very hacky the way that it's built right now, and I would feel terrible to sharing it. And I know a lot of people say, you know, they won't care, but they will. It's like, this is a weird analogy, but I think it's effective. So imagine there's a group of medical scientists that want to study your body because it's particularly unique. But to do it, you have to send nudes of yourself to them. Now, they are like, we just want to study your body, man. But you're like, I'm sending you a nude. You're going to see all of this. And I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with it, even though I understand that all you want to do is study it. So that's the analogy I have. But for the future, I'm definitely I'm going to be trying to build projects in the future in a way that I can do that. At the very least, share all the core assets.
Mm-hmm.
Make it like a Patron thing.
Did you have like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Did you have like a min-max like recording time per day during the project?
No, it was really just
like, what's the shortest amount of footage that you have on a single day throughout that year?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, okay, you're talking about
the duration of the footage.
I have no clue.
Yeah. I guess what I'm getting at is like, did you ever just like turn it on for like 1 minute be like, that's good for today, and like turn it off, or like did you really try
Yeah.
to keep them on and like capture as many things as you could, or was it a little bit of both at different times?
It was a little bit of both. It went all over the place. Some days I wasn't feeling it and it was very low effort. Other days it was like really, really dedicated with like 3 glasses in my pockets. So yeah, it goes all over the place.
So I want to know, like, who's getting lit on fire and shit? Like, are you blowing up buildings for this? Like, has anything blown up? Because Lucas needed a cool video.
I had a bad breakup and things escalate. It's just what they do.
So what's with this sledgehammer? Tell us a little bit about this.
So that's what I can share about the next project. That it has an IoT sledgehammer, and this is a big part of it. So this will be fun.
Is that like
what's all that shit?
Hopefully it's
wrapped
not
around
like a Lucille type of thing.
it? Is that so you can track it? What is all that shit?
No, it's just
Oh, it just
visual
makes
flair.
it look nice.
Visual flair.
All right, you're right. Maybe we do give you programmers too much credit. Like, like nah, that's just lights.
Yeah, I was gonna share a photo of it later today, but why not? Grand premiere.
Yeah.
The project has a sledgehammer.
You've seen it here first, ladies
Yeah,
and gentlemen.
son, Between Realities, first sneak peek of the next shit that Lucas is gonna put out. That's gonna
Yep.
blow your mind.
Yep.
So is
Yeah,
there who when I've said this 100 times, I guess I'll say it again. When I saw you speak at OC6, I was like, that guy. Yes, dude, you're awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, all your perspective was great. Like, who in the VR industry, or maybe outside of the VR industry, like, gives you a reaction like that? Who do you love the work of, or who do you look up to that does anything?
Honestly, it's. I don't want to mention singular names because then I'm going to fail to mention all of them.
I
And
understand.
yeah, I don't want to I guess I'll share a couple of names naturally. But it's really anyone that I meet who's doing something that's very weird and they have no real reason to be doing that other than the fact that they really like it. Anyone in VR who does that, I'm just immediately like, yes. It gives me so much inspiration and strength. And I guess a couple of people like VR Human, who's an artist who I've been becoming friends with. The way he thinks about things, he's just building tons of things in his home that are weird. Aiden Wolf, who was my roommate, he's doing lots of very cool, mind-blowing AR stuff, and it's mostly out of passion because all these people have no money. Daniel actually. Daniel Beauchamp, I probably misspelled his name. He's been doing lots of hand tracking stuff with the Quest. You probably saw some of his videos went viral, like a version of Jenga that his fingers get longer every time you play. I'm giving names, just names. Holy fuck. Sorry about that. But yeah, people who are basically building interesting VR AR stuff, not because they're trying, to make a breakout hit, not because just because they're experimenting and having fun. And in the pursuit of that, they're making really innovative stuff by accident. And
Right.
those are the people I learn the most from. It's just, oh, you made this thing? Okay, I think about the world a little bit differently now that I've seen your stuff. And
I think about the world differently just from VR in general. I don't think since the beginning of VR, I don't think I've looked at life the same at all. I don't know, are you kind of in that camp? Like, how easy is it for us to change our perception and all of a sudden just be in another place? Like my headset is more to me than just a headset. It's like a portal to another dimension, and I recently just had to send off my Valve Index to get RMA to get fixed. There were some issues with it, and when I lose a headset, man, it's like a piece of me now is gone, and it sounds so stupid because it's like, if your PlayStation had to go back and you were out without your games, but I don't look at it like that. I look at it like this is a way for me to transcend time and space, be able to meet up with people, be able to do things with people, see people I don't get to see, just go to a place that I wouldn't want to go to in real life. And just really, it's really changed. It's changed everything for me. It's changed my whole life. Do you have any thoughts on how VR may have kind of changed you? Besides, now you have a lot of subscribers.
Oh yeah, that's very recently. I've been this for a couple years, and it's been impactful ever since. Although right now what I'm looking for is things that make me look at VR completely differently. So I'm looking at that kind of internal, like internal growth. And that's one of the things like we mentioned before we started the show. It's just like the discussions don't seem to have evolved that much. At least the quality of the discussions, and people are saying the same things they've been saying in 2017, and it's been a little bit boring.
Dude, I've been sitting here loaded, like literally loaded, waiting to like ask you what we need to be talking about. You know, like you've been having the same conversations with, you know, different people. Like what should we be talking about right now? Like what are people not giving enough attention to?
Great question. Yeah.
I mean, I'll find ways to talk about it with future projects, but I'm like what's the last controversy we've had in VR with a project that was just different?
I know what I think the most controversial thing that I've experienced lately is that like the Echo VR thing, man. Like the fact that there are young communities blending with older communities and like weird like virtual like sexual things like kids humping your face and stuff like that in Echo VR. Like, have you been into Echo VR? Have you experienced any of that?
No.
So in Echo, it's that
Echo. Yeah.
It's a team game, right? You can grab each other.
Such a toxic community.
For real, it's weird, man. And like, there's young kids, like it's like I don't know what, like 8 to 14-year-olds is like the primary of the population, and they're like grabbing your head and humping you and shit, and like there's a lot of like,
which is too bad because it's an absolutely phenomenal game.
Right.
Yeah, like 9.9 out of 10.
Right. So for me,
other than the community,
going into those experiences and like having to like have like there's like no filter, you know, like it's just like you're like being bombarded in public areas by children who are extremely immature and doing shit that in real life would get them put in fucking jail or something, you know? Like, you can't walk up and hump somebody's face. In VR, it feels freaking real, you know? Like, so, you know, that's the one thing that I still feel like we're not giving enough attention to myself, is like finding a way to like solve some of that, because people are doing shit in VR to each other that is way more invasive than just sending a mean text or a message, you know? It's way more than any of that. And there's like really no regulation and no way to stop it. And I'm not even sure these parents have any idea what their kids are doing in these games. You know, like, you know, they don't know their kid is humping the shit out of their opponents after a match and stuff. You know?
It's not like one of those things where they can come and peek over at the computer screen and see what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of in a headset, and unless you're casting it somewhere, they have no idea. It's for a little kid, it's like this private thing. Now they might be able to hear, the parents might be able to hear what's going on, but you can't put into words what it's like to have someone come over and hump your face. So it's one of those crazy things.
I think actually the reason you have this in Echo, and I played honestly like a couple of online matches, and I was surprised just by the amount of times people could say the N-word in just a single match.
Right.
Unreal.
Yeah, it was crazy, but it's and I think it's a good example. You know, using Rizzotto as a counterpoint, Rizzotto being a community that's built on sharing intimacy, and you know, being vulnerable and being truthful, etc. Echo VR in most multiplayer games are communities that are built on a group of people asserting dominance over another group of people, and that is literally what the game's about. And so, if that's the foundation of your community, it's gonna go toxic, because the whole game is about me, you know, dominating you. So that's the result. So it's
well, what about games like Contractors and Onward and stuff? I feel like they don't have that kind of problem because they're not free.
Yeah.
You know, once you put that free label on there, every kid in the world's hopping in, and you know, they don't have to get their parents to buy them something. So it's just the commitment that comes with you know, with paying for something. It means that you want it to work and you want it to, you know, to be good. And but it's also freeing. It's when it's free, it's also, there's no real consequences to being banned, because you can just make a new account, join in, be toxic again. So there's no real, you know, punishment as far as getting rid of the toxic members of the community. And the game of Echo VR is simple enough that you can just be a dick and have fun with it. But on Onward, it's like being a dick is a little bit more complicated. It requires more effort. And it's not as satisfying to be a dick.
Certainly not as satisfying as grabbing somebody by the head and rubbing your virtual genitals all on their face.
Yeah, which is, I guess, it's why all social VR platforms are doing the whole bubble thing, even though to me it has made the experience more stale.
Well, you know,
But
it's
I like
funny
to get
because
it.
a bubble is good, but it should be off by default and be able to be turned on.
Easily.
Instead of it being on by default, and then you have to go look for it to turn it off. You know, I think it should be like, well, someone's getting in your face. Let me see, it's bothering me. Let me see if I can turn on some kind of thing where they can't. Instead of, you just can't. We're just going to take that closeness away by default. So, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, though.
I think it should be the opposite, personally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so lame now, like that I have. I don't know, man. It's been frustrating because I can turn off my bubble, but then people have to turn off theirs, and just like going in VR chat and alt space and those spaces after the bubbles, it's like, I can't play with people anymore.
Yeah, that's why I think the bubble should be off by default.
Or like, I'm okay with the bubbles as long as there's a different implementation of them. And as you know, if somebody's your friend, the bubbles are turned off by default because they're your friend.
That makes sense. That would be, yeah.
Yeah. So you should be able to interact with them. And at least something more fun. You know, you could also give power to people by, if someone's humping your face, you don't have to create a bubble that makes everything disappear, but you can make a mechanic in which you just punch them away. And if you punch somebody 3 times, they disappear or something. I don't know. Something that's more fun, but also, yeah. I don't know. Something interactive. Just my hands disappearing as soon as I'm about to touch someone's hair, to me, is so like, and it feels like a bug. It doesn't even feel like a feature.
I really do think I think the free thing is really a really important part of it. You know, when I was in that comedy show that I went to in alt space, which is free, right? They had people showing up who were basically trolling, and they had like a squad of like 10 mods who were just banning people left and right. Yeah. And I think they banned like 12 or 15 people throughout the comedy show. And they've been talking about charging like $1 or $2, not to make money, but just to filter it. Just
filter
so that
out the
way
riffraff.
Only people, exactly. Yeah. Only people who are intending to enjoy that experience are gonna pay the $2. You know, like it's not much, but if you want to go $1 or $2, isn't a lot.
When you put something monetary down that is of value to you, you're much less apt to destroy it for everybody else and for yourself. So yeah, that makes sense. I'd pay to get into some of those shows.
So like maybe Echo should be $5.
Yeah.
You know,
charge for that shit. Get the riffraff out of there just by putting some kind of price tag on it.
Or if you're gonna make a free game, don't make it like a big social thing, because especially a game like that, because the community is about to be toxic. One thing, Joe, some people in the chat are going that, you know, they rather opt in to the possibility of being harassed, aka bubbles by default. I guess that's fine as well. It's just like none of these networks, they actually ask me in the beginning when I'm creating an account or I'm joining for the first time, hey, do you want the bubble to be on or off? They just turn it off, and I didn't even, you know, I have to find out there's a bubble system, and then I have to find out that I can toggle it. And a lot of people just don't do it. And the fact that bubbles are not turned off by default when you have a friend, it's also upsetting. So I guess just making it more clear that there's a bubble and there's an option, because it's not very clear to me.
Right.
But on,
he's free. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that a cool implementation of moderators would be like in the very background of, like, if you're in a city, in the building, there's like moderator snipers that are just watching over, and sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not, but you're like, there's a sniper over there, and maybe it's a mod, maybe it's not. They're always watching over.
Amazing. That'd be great.
Yeah, you know, and I think this the special problem that Echo specifically has is that grabbing the body of other players is a primary game mechanic. Like, they can't get rid of that. You know, like, you have to be able to grab each other. Yeah. You know, these free applications are the most accessible for that reason, because once you have the headset, you don't want to buy more games. There's a lot of people who are like that. They're like, I got the headset, now I have to buy more? Like, what? It's like, are you kidding me? Like, what year is it? But
I bought this car, now I got to put gas in it?
Seriously. But, like, they think that once they have the headset, that should be enough, you know, or they could at least get enough free stuff to have fun. And I'm sure they can. But they buy a headset. The first thing they get's a free social app. They go into it, immediately have a terrible experience of an online social thing in VR, or they might just attribute that to virtual reality in general. You know, like that kind of stuff could prevent so many people from really like discovering what VR means to them and how they can use it in their lives just by having one or two shitty experiences on the first free thing that they decided to download.
All right, ready at dawn. It's on you now. You got to charge for this shit.
Yeah. Altspace was also a good example that it was a very healthy community when it was only high-end PC VR, but as soon as Gear VR started to being given away for free, the community became hell, like a hellscape.
You can go into Altspace in VR on a Gear.
You could when it was supported and everything's all getting shut down.
Yeah, but
now,
that influx of Gear VR players who got a headset for free, it was just like so much trouble. The community changed overnight.
Right? Yeah, like all kinds of people taking those things home.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is then that makes this community so good for the most part? You know, like I would say that all of those kids are not like representative of the current state of the virtual reality community, mainly because they're kids and they're like they play VR games, but they're not really VR community members, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like they're just young kids playing games. Who knows if they're going to stay in VR or not? You know, so it's man, I don't even know what my train of thought was here, but it's like, you know, what do you think it is that like makes the community like yours and where thoughts go like a more mature one? You know, like is it the price point? Is it because VR costs a lot, therefore more?
Or is it the anonymousness? I don't even know that word, but you know what I mean. Is it the anonymousness of and the voice, like you said, how you know they're not typing, so there's still a little bit of them in what they're putting into the game, so they don't want to be shitty, you know.
Are we talking about my community or are we talking about VR community
your
in general?
community, where thoughts go.
Okay, yeah, in mine it's how the thing is designed. It's the fact that it's voice, so it's more humanized. It's the price tag. It's the intimate nature of the experience that it really catches trolls off guard. It makes them reconsider what they're about to do. I know it because I'm a little bit of a troll, and it's as far as VR is concerned, it's just because it's a bunch of people who are just really excited about the future and excited about new things, and they're willing to deal with a massive amount of inconveniences just to get a little bit of something new. And I think this united passion for something new is makes the community very open to experimentation, open to weird ideas and weird things, and supporting people who are trying these new things. And it's people who are united, especially the people making it, because people who are making stuff for VR and AR as well, they're not in it for money, because if they wanted money, they would be doing something else. They're in it because they really care about this or what you can do with it. So right now it's healthy, and let's enjoy it because it's not going to last for long.
Right. Do you think that once people like realize that it's like a huge money grab, that we're just going to instantly get infested with all kinds of ill-intentioned members of our community and start fucking up all these good vibes that we have going?
Yeah, and it has happened before. It's there was a huge surge of investment in 2016, 2017. And even here in Silicon Valley, there's lots of monthly meetups of people of VR meetups that happened or used to happen, and the people who run those meetups were like all of a sudden tons of new people. They're all terrible because they're just like they're just there like opportunists where they're just for the money and they don't care about it. So many of those people appeared out of nowhere, took in massive amounts of money, made companies that died like a year later, but they walked away with their golden parachutes.
Dude, you know what? This is actually this was the straw that broke the camel's back for me when I decided I was going to start like a channel and start chasing VR. I was on vacation in Boulder, Colorado, or I went to Denver, and I think we went to Boulder. And in Boulder, I was walking down the street, and of course, I'm a VR adopter. I loved it, and I see this VR development studio right there on the street in Boulder. I was like, no way, this is dope. So I go down in there. I'm like, my people, what's going on, everybody? Like, what are you guys working on? Show me, who's excited for the Oculus Quest? And they're like, the Oculus what? And I was like, what the fuck you mean the Oculus what? I thought you guys were a VR studio. And I'm like, put me in something. Show me what you guys are doing. They can't put together an experience for me. And they're trying to slap together these 360 videos of wildlife to sell for YouTube or some shit. And I was like, okay, so these people are like all investing in VR right now, and like they've
don't even
started
know
the
what's
thing and have
up.
no fucking idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know so much
Should
more
I?
about this than they do. Why am I not being a part of this right now?
Yeah.
And that was really it. I was like, the fact that they knew nothing and they've already established something like made me feel inspired to like become a part of the community and contribute content, because like we obviously need more people like that.
Yeah,
You know what
that
I
know
mean?
what's
And
up.
I think these are one of the people that you're talking about.
Yeah.
They were like, ooh, this VR thing, we can make wildlife videos, and holy fuck, maybe we'll make $1 million, you know? And meanwhile, they're just not doing anything. Like, nothing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds too bad.
Yeah.
That's
The
too bad.
vultures, they always show up.
They do. Looking to pick some meat off the bones. Well, what do you say? Should we
I feel like we're
let
getting
Lucas
there.
bounce out of here?
Yeah, I feel like we're getting there. We'll jump into chat for 1 second here. And
Sweet. Anyone have any questions for
yeah.
Lucas?
Tones My Bones and Ted Brady's still here. Rescue Toaster, my boy Pabark. So glad that you
I
can
see
watch us live, man.
Geek is in here. Inside VR, a lot of good people in here. Hussein X, Rendered Reality
Is
was
Inside
in earlier.
VR Martin? Is that the Martin logo there?
Yes, I think that's Mark.
Are you Martin? Sorry if you're not. Sorry if you're not.
That was good stuff, though.
Yeah, well, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so excited for you, Lucas. I think
Yes.
I thought you deserved to have the audience that you currently have before you made that video, and I'm so excited that everyone is starting to have the opportunity to get exposed to you, man, because you're a smart dude, and I think as long as you are in this community, you'll do nothing but push it forward and make it better for
Yeah,
everybody.
and hopefully,
Sweet.
hopefully this video gets you a couple dollars to buy a new alarm clock, because your alarm clock,
Yeah.
bro, needs to go. Needs to go. If
Right.
anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, hit up Lucas's channel, and he has a video about his alarm clock.
Yeah,
You knew him,
that
bro.
was partially like, I guess it's me trying out the idea of doing funny things.
And you're a funny guy, man.
Dude,
I think,
that
yeah, you
video
make
was
me laugh.
hilarious,
Yeah,
bro.
it's good stuff.
Yeah, all your shit's hilarious.
Thanks. Yeah, this actually means a lot, and I love what you guys are doing as well, and your enthusiasm and the enthusiasm of everybody in the chat. In the chat.
Yeah, we got a great community in the VR community. Really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So keep doing what you're doing.
We will do that. You keep doing the same. If you always have a seat here on the Between Reality shit, man. Like anytime you're looking to chill, come and hang out. You are welcome. We'll
Cool.
find room for you, brother.
Yeah. Next VR project is episode 4, and I think you're gonna like that. So let's see.
Awesome.
Well,
Super excited, man.
expect to hear from me.
Cool.
Thank you everyone in the chat for joining us today. Next week.
Well, let's say bye to Lucas first. We'll
All right,
bring
let's
his
get rid of
monitor up.
Lucas.
See you later, Lucas.
Later,
Thank you
dude.
so much, buddy.
Bye.
Thanks, brother.
I really appreciate it. Alex's monitor sound effect there.
That's so good. Well, so next week we are very lucky to have Rowdy Guy from the F Reality podcast joining us. He is also a super funny dude and has been making content on YouTube for a long time. Great guy. We're stoked to have him on and yuck it up and joke around. And
Yeah,
have
dude,
fun
he's
with
a
him.
funny guy, and he's been a big part of the VR community, making videos and part of the F Reality podcast, and just he's just a general good dude. And I feel like you had good experiences with him when you met him in OC6.
Oh, yeah,
and
he's-
it's like
He's awesome. I hit him up to do the podcast, and he was like, "No, just kidding. Yes, of course, I'll do it." You know? He's like immediately fucking around. So we're really excited to have him. There's probably a 75% chance that show will be pre-recorded. I think we got like a 25% chance that it'll be live, but we might have to record the night before just because, the time zone things and stuff like that. So if we record before, Skeeva can actually chill and watch chat. And I guess I can do the same. He loves to do that because he's always busy pushing buttons. Thanks again for being here. We're going to let you guys go. We will see you next week. Goodbye.
You guys are the best. See you later.